Right now, as you rewatching this, a historic winter storm is taking shape that could dump over 2 feet of snow across multiple states. And here's what nobody is talking about. The models have been shifting north with every single update. The question everyone needs to ask is this: are you in the path? Because what we re-seeing in the latest data is absolutely unprecedented for late January. We re-talking about a storm system so massive, so powerful, that it could shut down the entire Deep South with catastrophic ice accumulations. But wait until you hear what's happening at minute 320 when I reveal which major cities are now in the crosshairs. Let me be absolutely clear about something. This is not your typical winter weather event. The European model is showing 1 to 2 inches of ice in some areas. That's not a typo. 1 to 2 inches of solid ice coating everything. Power lines, trees, roads, everything. And in the darkest zones on the map, we re-seeing projections of 3 inches or more. But here's where it gets interesting. The storm track has been playing games with forecasters for the past 48 hours. Every 6 hours, every single model run, we re-seeing this system creep further and further north. What started as a deep south snowstorm is now threatening the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, maybe even the Northeast. Think about that for a second. A storm system powerful enough to blanket Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas with heavy snow, then march straight up the eastern seaboard. When was the last time you saw something like this? Here's your first reward for sticking with me. At exactly 30 seconds into this analysis, I can tell you this: somebody is going to see over a foot of snow from this system. That's guaranteed. The only question is, who gets the jackpot and who gets left out in the cold? Now let's break down what's happening in the atmosphere right now. We are dealing with Arctic air so intense, so deeply cold, that temperatures are running 25 to 35 degrees below normal across huge sections of the country. This isn't just cold. This is the kind of cold that makes pipes burst, that strands travelers, that creates genuine emergencies. The setup is almost textbook perfect for a major winter storm. We have an Arctic high-pressure system parked right over the northern plains and Great Lakes. This high is acting like a brick wall, forcing everything south. But here's the twist that nobody saw coming. That brick wall might be starting to crack. On Friday night, the show begins. Snowfall develops across Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Arkansas. We're not talking about flurries here. We're talking about moderate to heavy snowfall rates that could drop visibility to near zero in a matter of minutes. Parts of Mississippi, Tennessee, and Alabama get into the action too. But the snow is only half the story. Actually, it's less than half the story. The real danger, the thing that keeps meteorologists up at night, is the ice. A massive zone of freezing rain sets up right across the heart of the Deep South. Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, all facing the prospect of devastating ice accumulation. Why is ice so much worse than snow? Let me paint you a picture. 1/4 inch of ice can snap power lines. 1/2 inch can bring down entire trees. When you start talking about 1 to 2 inches, you're re-looking at widespread catastrophic damage. Roads become skating rinks, power grids fail, emergency services can't respond. And we're not talking about 1/4 inch here. We're talking about potentially 3 inches in the hardest hit areas. That is the kind of ice storm that makes national news for weeks, the kind that gets studied in meteorology textbooks for decades. Here is what happens next, and this is where you need to pay very close attention. By Saturday afternoon, moderate to heavy snowfall continues pounding areas from Texas all the way through to northern Georgia. The freezing rain intensifies across the southern tier. This is the peak of the storm's fury in the Deep South. But then something fascinating happens. As we move into Saturday night, the storm starts to show its true ambitions. Snowfall begins lighting up Kentucky, Virginia, and North Carolina. And we're not talking about a dusting. We're talking about heavy, potentially very heavy snowfall rates. If this scenario plays out exactly as the models are showing right now, these areas could wake up Sunday morning to find themselves buried under massive snow totals. The kind of totals that strain every snow removal resource available. The kind that shut down entire metropolitan areas for days. Now here comes the million-dollar question, the one that determines whether Philadelphia, New York, and Boston get buried or barely touched. Does this storm slide horizontally offshore, or does it climb vertically up the coast? This is the moment where everything hangs in the balance. A horizontal track means the heaviest snow stays further south and inland. Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee get hammered. A vertical track brings the mixing zone north, but also drags heavy snowfall bands right up through Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and into southern New England. The latest European model is showing that vertical climb. And I have to be honest with you, I am skeptical. Here's why. We have a strong, high-pressure system directly to the north. Our atmospheric flow is generally horizontal. Physics suggests the path of least resistance is to slide east, not climb north. But, and this is a big but, that doesn't guarantee anything. Weather systems don't always take the easy path. Sometimes they surprise us. Watch what happens in the model. The low-pressure system develops offshore and starts its journey. Initially, it looks like it wants to slide east. Then, almost like it changes its mind, it begins climbing north. As it does, something critical happens to areas in North Carolina and Virginia. They start mixing. What does mixing mean? It means instead of all snow, you get a messy combination of snow, sleet, and freezing rain. Your snowfall totals go down, but your ice totals might go up. For these areas, mixing is not what you want to see. Meanwhile, as that mixing develops in the south, heavier snowfall bands set up shop across Pennsylvania and New Jersey. The storm's northern flank starts cranking out serious accumulation. We are seeing pink and purple on the snowfall maps, colors that represent a foot or more of snow. Southern New England gets into the action too as a major low-pressure system crosses right nearby. This is the scenario where Boston, Hartford, Providence, they all wake up to significant snowfall. But remember what I said about that high pressure to the north? That's the wild card. If it holds strong, if it refuses to budge, then this whole vertical climb scenario might not happen. The storm might be forced to take that horizontal path after all. And here's something else nobody is talking about. After this monster storm finally moves out, we don't get a break. Another clipper system rolls through, bringing more mid-Atlantic and northeast snowfall. Then we stay cold, brutally cold, right through the end of the month. The pattern isn't just snowy. It's relentlessly snowy. System after system, each one tapping into that deep Arctic air mass, each one with the potential to drop significant accumulation. Early February brings yet another significant storm system. This one actually ends up being a very intense, very interesting offshore low that brings additional snowfall to many of the same areas still digging out from the first storm. It's like the atmosphere is stuck in repeat mode, just cycling through one winter storm after another. Now let's talk numbers. Hard numbers. The kind that make this all real. Total precipitation from the European model shows 1 to 2 inches of liquid equivalent across the heaviest hit areas. That might not sound like much until you remember that in cold air, 1 inch of liquid can produce 10 to 15 inches of snow. We're talking about serious accumulation potential. The temperature pattern tells the story of why this is all possible. By Thursday and Friday, we are dealing with temperatures 25 to 35 degrees below normal across huge swaths of the country. Those magenta areas on the temperature departure map represent cold that most people haven't experienced in years. This is why everything is snow and ice. This is why there is no rain in this forecast. The air is simply too cold for anything but frozen precipitation. Saturday's temperature map looks even more intense. Arctic air floods south with nothing to stop it. This creates the perfect environment for not just snow, but for exceptional snow to liquid ratios. Fluffy, powdery snow that piles up fast and blows around in the wind. But here's where it gets tricky for coastal areas. If that low-pressure system tracks very close to the coast, something called a warm nose develops. Warmer, milder air works its way into the lower levels of the atmosphere. This is what causes mixing. For coastal residents who want maximum snowfall and not freezing rain, you actually have to hope the low stays a bit further offshore. Just a little bit. That would put you in the bullseye of the heaviest snow instead of the mixing zone. The bullseye of snowfall typically sets up just outside the area experiencing mixing. If the track shifts just a little bit further east, or if the storm is slightly colder and further south, that changes everything. The bullseye moves. What was mixing becomes all snow. What was all snow might become mixing. This is why storm tracking is so critical in the final hours before impact. A shift of 50 miles can mean the difference between 6 inches and 16 inches. Now here come the truly shocking numbers. Total snowfall on the European model. Are you ready for this? Gargantuan accumulations from the Four Corners states through the southern and central plains into the lower Midwest and lower Mid-Atlantic. Pink areas representing a foot or more. Pastel blue areas representing potentially multiple feet. Let that sink in for a moment. Areas that might see 2 feet, maybe even more, of snow from a single storm system. The GFS model tells a very similar story. Actually, in some ways, it's even more intense. We see a thinner band of heavy snowfall, but the amounts within that band are staggering, especially on the eastern side where we are dealing with not just 1 foot, but potentially 2 feet for areas close to the Appalachian Mountain Range. That Virginia and North Carolina border region is showing some of the most intense snowfall potential. This is terrain that knows how to wring moisture out of storms like this. When you combine orographic lift with a moisture-rich system and Arctic air, you get snow production that can exceed 2 inches per hour. Imagine that. 2 inches of snow every single hour for 12 to 18 hours. You don't shovel your way out of that. You wait for heavy equipment. But we cannot forget about the ice. The ice projections are what keep emergency managers up at night. 1 to 2 inches of ice, especially in those darker shaded areas on the map. This is catastrophic. This is the kind of ice accumulation that takes weeks to recover from. 3 or more inches of freezing rain in some locations, according to the European model. Just unbelievable. Unthinkable. The kind of ice event that gets talked about for generations. We really need this forecast to trend away from the icy scenario somehow, because if this verifies as modeled, the Deep South shuts down completely, not for a day or two, for a week or more. Power outages lasting weeks, impassable roads, destroyed infrastructure. The GFS Model S ice forecast is similarly concerning. Broad areas of significant ice accumulation right across the heart of the Deep South. This isn't just a Louisiana problem or just a Mississippi problem. This is a regional catastrophe in the making if the ice forecast verifies. So what does all this mean for you? What should you be doing right now? If you're anywhere in the potential impact zone from Texas to Maine, now is the time to prepare. Not tomorrow, not when you see the first snowflakes. Right now. Stock up on non-perishable food. Make sure you have batteries, flashlights, candles, fill up your gas tank, charge all your devices. If you take medications, make sure you have enough to last a week or more. For areas facing significant ice potential, prepare for extended power outages. That means having a way to stay warm that doesn't rely on electricity. It means having enough water stored because frozen pipes might cut off your supply. This is also the time to check in on elderly neighbors, on anyone who might need extra help during a major winter storm. Community matters during events like this. The storm track will continue to be refined over the next 24 to 48 hours. Every model run brings new information. Every update potentially shifts the bullseye. This is why you need to stay informed, stay updated, and stay prepared. Here's what we know for certain right now. A major winter storm is coming. Somebody is going to get buried. The ice potential across the Deep South is genuinely frightening, and the pattern after this storm remains cold and active with more opportunities for additional winter weather. What we don't know yet is exactly who gets the heaviest snow, exactly where the worst ice sets up, and exactly what track this storm ultimately takes as it moves up the coast. That uncertainty is why preparation matters so much. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. That old saying exists for a reason. The models will continue updating every 6 hours. Each update will provide more clarity, more detail, more specifics about timing and impacts. Pay attention to those updates. Don't rely on a forecast from 3 days ago. This is an evolving situation. And remember, even after this major storm moves through, the pattern doesn't relax. More cold, more storms, more winter weather into early February. This isn't a one-and-done situation. This is a pattern change that could persist for weeks. For weather enthusiasts, this is the kind of setup you dream about. Multiple significant events, complex forecasting challenges, high-impact weather. For everyone else, this is the kind of pattern that tests your preparation and your patience. One more critical point about the coastal track question. The difference between a horizontal offshore track and a vertical climb isn't just academic. It determines everything. Snow totals, ice totals, wind impacts, coastal flooding potential, all of it hinges on that track. A storm that climbs the coast brings heavier precipitation to more people but also increases the mixing zone. A storm that slides offshore keeps the heaviest precipitation further south and more inland but delivers it as all snow with less mixing. Neither scenario is necessarily better or worse. They read just different. They impact different areas in different ways. What makes this storm particularly noteworthy is the combination of factors. The Arctic air mass is exceptionally cold. The moisture feed is robust. The low pressure system has the potential to rapidly intensify. The track is still uncertain enough that a huge area needs to be prepared. This is textbook high-impact winter weather. This is what meteorologists study. This is what emergency managers prepare for. This is what tests communities and infrastructure. As we head toward the weekend, pay attention to local forecasts. They will have the most specific information for your exact location. National models give us the big picture, but local meteorologists understand the nuances of their area. Trust the forecast cone, not a single line. Understand that the exact track might not be nailed down until the storm is already underway. Be flexible. Be prepared for scenarios to change. And here's your final teaser, the thing you need to know about what's coming after this storm clears. The pattern doesn't just stay cold, it stays active. Another significant storm system is already showing up on the long-range models for early February. Another chance for major snow. Another test of the same winter-weary regions. This might not be a one-storm winter. This might be a winter that people remember for years. The winter when the Deep South got buried in ice. The winter when the East Coast got pummeled by multiple feet of snow. The winter when the cold just wouldn't quit. Right now, we are watching the opening act of what could be a much longer show. Stay tuned, stay prepared, and